sourcing practices have been the subject of increasing interest of the media and social media. Irregularities were found at suppliers working for Western companies. These suppliers were using child labor over many hours, excessive overtime, etc. And in the end, it did damage to the company's reputation. This video is about what buyers can do to prevent these kind of problems to happen in their supplier relationships. Recently, Bangladesh came badly into the news because of a collapse of a big textile plant where, due to bad maintenance, 1,100 workers lost their lives. All of this textile manufacturer worked predominantly for large fashion retailers as H&M and others. Foxconn, the supplier to Apple, came into the news because of the excessive working hours that workers need to endure in working in their factories, inhumane circumstances that led people even to kill themselves. These are just a few examples of the irregularities that were reported in supplier relationships of suppliers operating in the Far East. All of them because of the excessive cost pressure that was exerted by them, on them by Western companies. So there is a big need for corporate social responsibility. Corporate social responsibility relates to an organization's, and I would say society's, responsibility to meet the present needs of its various stakeholders without jeopardizing the future needs of the future stakeholders. This is the well-known Brundtland definition. And in line with that, I would define socially responsible purchasing as it relates to the supply of all goods and services that you need to manage the organization's primary and support activities at the most responsible conditions. Now, the question then is it relevant to us? And here I give an example of a company that really endorsed CSR in its and adopted CSR in its sourcing operations, in this case Unilever. In its fantastic the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan, it did first a kind of research to identify and explain to its workers and employees why CSR should be of a prime concern to the company. And this picture shows that when you look at the total carbon footprint that is caused by a company like Unilever, only 3% of the carbon footprint is caused by the manufacturing sites and the production plants by Unilever themselves. About 2% is caused by the guys and the companies that transport and distribute the products, whereas 68% is caused by the consumers, you and me, using the Unilever products, by taking showers, using the Unilever detergents to wash our laundry, etc. And a stunning 26% is related to suppliers. So when Paul Polman, the top executive of Unilever, decided to halve the carbon footprint of the company, he took a very wide definition. He looked at the total value chain. And he said we need to halve the carbon footprint, our carbon footprint, in 5 years' time. And this imposed clear targets on its procurement organization, because they should do something about the 26%. I think that this picture is similar to other manufacturing companies. Figures may be a little different, but it says that this analysis shows that there is a clear role for procurement managers to play in this. And the question then is how to do that. How can we build a better world through more responsible sourcing? How can we help reduce the carbon footprint of our companies and suppliers? Well, there's a number of ideas, and companies can first look into their specifications and abandon the use of hazardous materials and use biodegradable and reusable materials, and perhaps source more locally than international. The example comes from a local hospital in Holland that used to buy food ingredients from one of these large distributors that took their food from everywhere from the world. And this hospital decided to buy only from local growers and farmers. And not only it was able to buy better food that tasted better, but it was also able to reduce transport times and fuel consumptions from its suppliers. We could also look at supplier selection. So buy from those suppliers that have a CSR as a primary activity in their strategy. Use CSR criteria and supplier pre-qualification. Develop CSR standards across supplier industries and promote CSR principles active throughout your supplier communities. Of course, in the contracting stage, you can award more business to sustainable and competitive suppliers. And then, when it comes to ordering, shipment and delivery, make sure that you work with transporters that fill up their transport trucks as good as possible. Remember that in a country like Holland, when we look at truck transport, the average load of a truck is just 50% of its capacity. 50% of what we transport is air in this country. So there's a big need to make much better use of our transport capacity. Reduce business travel by using Skype or Google Plus sessions or video calls or conferences rather than taking the airplane all the time. It saves you money and it saves you carbon footprint. And finally, when it comes to disposal, organize in your contract a take-back guarantee from the supplier so that the supplier is forced to use packaging that requires him minimal rework. And make sure that you buy products that can easily be disposed of when they come at the end of their life cycle. These are just a few ideas on how you as a purchasing professional can drive sustainability through your supply chain. We are just at the beginning of this important issue. There's much more to come in the future. I hope you will find these ideas useful.